Hey everybody, JC here with the JC and Bo Show. Got a lot of questions people want to ask. Hey JC, what is it you do? I've been lucky enough to follow my passion from the Marine Corps into the civilian world, work in the defense industry. And one of the things that we always had is what's the word I'm looking for here? The rocket was never our bid for success in combat. Because to be quite honest, this may shock some people. The Marine Corps never really had a good rocket. So today, we're going to talk about something that I had a chance to bring to the Marine Corps while I was still in uniform, the M3A1 or the M4 Carl Gustaf. Bo, go ahead and bring that over to me real quick. Thank you, brother. So with that being said, if everybody's got me out there, we're going to talk a little bit about the Carl Gustaf. So I was fortunate enough to do 22 years in the Marine Corps. Bear with me if you've heard this story already. But through our time, specifically Iraq and Afghanistan, by the time you got a mortar dialed in or the bad guy had shot at you, something that I noticed, they were always out of rocket range, and by the time you got a mortar dialed in on them, they were gone. So you better have really good rifles, you better have good noise and light discipline, and you better have a hell of a lot of machine guns. And that was usually what won the day. And as time went on, I said, man, I never depended on the rocket because, to be quite honest, our rockets weren't right for the mission.
Right.
You know? So time went on. Became a Marine gunner, and I found myself out at 2nd Recon as their battalion gunner. And the Marines came and they said, hey, gunner, you know, why don't we have Carl Gustaf? And I immediately thought in my head, I said, man, I just got off of a MEU with 3rd Battalion, 2nd Marines, and we had just done a range. And one of my guys had just ran a assaultman range with a small. Now, they shot 8 rounds, did everything right, and they went 0 for 8. And I found myself as a gunner saying, hey, man, I shouldn't be giving these kids a gun that can't hit the target.
Right.
So, and that was in my mind. I said, well, anything's got to be better than the small.
So bottom line, in a nutshell, why did the Marine Corps go to this
So
right here?
What this is going to do is it's going to increase lethality and survivability. Not only through the range, but the whole different family of ammunition that this gun offers.
How many different rounds does it have?
Man, it's got about 12. And the Marine Corps got 9 of them. So this thing's got everything from anti-armor, smoke, illume, training practice, and it's also got dual purpose rounds where you can put it on, where you can set the round in where it's fused to hit delay, and you can also set it to where it can do impact. So it can either blow up on the inside or the outside, or this magical round you're holding in your hand, which is the 441 high explosive airburst round.
Oh,
now,
flies over you?
It flies over you and blows down like a flying claymore.
Right on.
Those of us that have fought in the wadis and the dead space of Iraq and Afghanistan, think about this. How many times did you and me get shot at from across a river or from the top of a building or in some type of dead space?
Every day.
Because the bad guy knew, guess what? By the time they shot at us, there's no way we could influence that.
And by the time we got our mortars dialed in and all that shit, it was gone.
It was too late. So with this,
gone.
all you simply do is you set the nose cone, and that round will naturally fly about 3 meters high and blow down on top of the enemy. So problem solver in and of itself. So a lot of our squad leaders don't get enough time to become really proficient at calling for fire. What a great thing that they now have this available to them at the squad level to where they can influence the target from within their squad formation.
How did the Marine Corps integrate this into the squad level? It's a squad level, right?
It is. So what a lot of people don't know in the history of this, when I started this at 2nd Recon, I wrote what's called a needs statement. And I convinced the Marine Corps, I said, hey, Recon needs this system. Well, I bring it to our division gunner, a guy named Chris Wade. A lot of you guys out there know Chris Wade, phenomenal Marine infantryman. Chris looks at me, Bo, and he goes, this is great. He goes, JC, I want you to rewrite this. And of course, as soon as he says that, like the gas is out of me, he goes, I want you to rewrite this. I want it to be in the hands of the engineer, the 0311, and the LAR scout. So anybody that has to do the last 100 yards of business is going to get a Carl Gustaf. And we think about all the times that I needed illume, smoke, HEDP, all those things.
Now, you designed a pack to carry these specific rounds, didn't you?
We worked with a third-party vendor to make a pack that'll make it more easy to...
So how many can a Marine carry in this pack?
Ideally, at 7 pounds a round, we think about the fighting load of the Marine.
Right.
I think because they come in 2-round settings, I think you can carry about 3 at a time with one in the pike. So
and you can disperse the rounds, too, like we used to do with the mortars, right?
Do it like mortars in Vietnam or when we were fighting in Iraq.
Yeah, here, you carry this, you carry this.
Yeah,
Okay.
all of the rounds,
Right.
all the rounds are about 7 pounds apiece. We got one that's a little bit heavier than that. But they're great. And what's great about this compared to the other systems we use is you can scale your rounds based off of the mission you're going to go on.
Right.
So, and that's one of the great things about it. So the flexibility, the rounds per minute rate of fire. I mean, we think about the small. You could do 1 or 2 rounds per minute. I'm 5 or 6 with this, which is crazy. It's game changing. So the efficiency of this.
What's the range? What's the maximum range? Does it matter on the round?
It does. So
does it make a big difference or no?
Absolutely. So if we're using the HE round, this is our round, our combat round that goes the furthest. This goes 1,300 meters. So that's quite a ways.
Wow.
Our heat stuff goes about 700. Our HEDP will do troops in the open at 1,000, bunkers at 500, and when we have a fire control system on the gun, that thing will allow me to hit movers out to about 300 or 400 yards, going about 30 miles an hour. So we think about the suicide bomber threat, vehicles like that. You can hit a mover with it.
It's a tank killer too, right?
It'll absolutely kill a tank. Yes, with our heat round, it will take down a tank.
Right.
I think what we've learned a little bit in the Ukraine is I think the T-90 is a pretty awesome piece of kit that the Russians have, but even Carl Gustaf heat rounds can damage or immobilize, or in some cases it may even destroy a T-90. So nothing beats this gun on the battlefield. There's no competitor to it. It is a game changer. Nothing
comes close to this.
Nothing comes close to this. If I have to give one system that is a shoulder fire delivery platform to a SOCOM operator, a Marine, anybody, hell, I got the Air Force is buying this thing for their airfield security. Nothing beats the Carl Gustaf.
What about the backblast area?
So with the Carl Gustaf, you'll notice this back end, we got this Venturi here. Obviously, you can see how the cone shape is on the back. It's got a backblast very similar to what you get from an AT4, which is also made by us. So you do have a backblast consideration, but they're a little different for each round. So there is a backblast consideration.
You got a specific round, too, that you can fire this inside of a building, right?
Yes. The U.S. government hasn't asked for that yet, but down the road we're going to get one that they can. We already make it in a disposable platform, which we all...
Remember the small, you couldn't fire inside of a building.
We already make a disposable system in our AT4, so guys can shoot it from inside of a building. And this is something you might be familiar with. The dimensions of it are similar to the size of a jail cell. So if you're familiar, if you're familiar with a jail cell, Marine's not going to break out a tape measure in a gunfight. But he's like, oh, this is about the size of a jail cell.
I'll have you know I have 7 good conduct medals.
Also, when it comes to Bill Bodette's 7 good conduct medals, we have identified that is also a lie.
A little bit of stolen valor there.
So yeah, and the future is going to take us that direction. And what's really great about this gun is one thing that we were able to do with the Marine variant bow is, you know how we came up with iron sights, and a kid's scared trying to do this.
Right.
That's hard, man.
Right. He's breathing heavy, being shot at.
Scared. It comes with a red dot sight as the backup sight. So kid's scared. He's got the red dot 0, which it's really easy to zero. You co-witness the red dot with center of bore with some bore sight discs. This is his backup sight. So if my advertised max effective range is about 1,000 yards out, it's going to hit you about 75% with this. And if I'm in the assault, I'm probably using this. Now, if I get to go to a support by fire with my machine guns, I'll put a fire control system on here, and now the gun is going to be hitting 90% or better. So, and it's all based on the mission set. Everything here is scalable. And we look at a lot of our old systems. You look here, you got your trigger mechanism, your safety. Everything is right here in a workspace. So the gunner is not all over the gun trying to do stuff.
Now, that's another question. Is this a crew-served weapon?
It's considered crew-served, but what I will tell you is it's crew-served barely. Think about the amount of time it would take you to reload a belt-fed weapon. Take about the time it would take you to take a disposable munition. How long it takes to prep that. You can roll with this with one in the pipe, and with a 5 or 6 round per minute rate of fire, I say it is crew-served barely. And we knew that when we convinced the Marine Corps that this was the way to go, this was the future. Something we considered was we knew the 0351 was going away. They don't promote that kid right. They don't give him the right training, so they got rid of that MOS. So we, the gunners, knew that the 0351 was on the way out the door. So instead of giving Marines, particularly the infantry or the combat engineer, which is how I met Seabass, instead of giving them 3 rockets that don't do anything well, I gave them one system that does everything well. Why would I not do that?
Right.
So that's how we ended up.
Are we the only country that uses this?
There's a lot of countries that use this. This may come as a shock to a lot of people, but the country that has the biggest proliferation of Carl Gustaf is India.
Really?
But they don't really have good neighbors.
India, wow, right.
They don't have good neighbors, so they got a ton of them. You'll see it in Australia. You'll see it in the United States. You'll see it in Canada. Everybody's a fan of Carl Gustaf.
This is a great weapon, so you can use it on the attack, support by fire.
Yeah.
This would be a badass support by fire
Absolutely.
Weapon, because, man, that'll definitely keep your goddamn heads down.
Absolutely. And what the beauty of this, when we wrote, and why you see other services that will struggle with this, is they will make it a platoon support weapon. When we wrote the need statement, the idea was that this belongs to the rifle squad leader. So that gives a platoon 3 of these.
Right. Okay, that's what I was going to ask.
So I could take 1 of these.
There's 3 of these in every platoon.
In every platoon. I could put 2 at a machine gun support by fire, and I could take 1 in the assault.
Right,
It's all scalable based off of MET-T and the enemy situation.
Right, absolutely.
So I wish we would have had, and again, our passion for looking out for Marines.
We definitely.
If we had this would have went out of the wire every single time.
Yeah, we definitely needed that.
Right? No. And people are like, man, it looks awful heavy.
No, come on, you're a Marine. Suck it the fuck up.
Well, what's really going to surprise you? It's lighter than it's about the same. It's comparable to a saw. 14 pounds.
Right.
14 pounds. Rounds are 7 pounds. So I hear a lot of people like, we want to lighten the soldier load. Hey, I'm the first guy that tells you this all day long. I want to see the soldier and Marine load lighten. But I think we've also got to kind of change the conversation to where I want to make sure my Marines are carrying weight that's worth carrying.
Absolutely.
So I can give you this with 4 rounds, and that's 42 pounds. Or I can give you 3 disposable systems. They're also 40-ish pounds.
That suck.
Right. It's a no-brainer.
Right.
And this is a rifled titanium barrel. So guess what that does? It's absolutely going to aid in accuracy. So the accuracy of this system, it's second to none.
This is weight worth carrying.
Absolutely.
Weight worth carrying.
You know me, I wouldn't do this for a living if I did not wholeheartedly believe in the system.
I guarantee that, folks. I know you wouldn't. I know you wouldn't push this.
One thing I do got to be careful with when I get out amongst the Marines, and I'm always welcome amongst the tribe. Guys are always happy to see me. Marines will do some things time to time that I've got to check them on. Like, for instance, your barrel shroud here and these pads, they'll take them off to clean it and it screws the gun up, or they'll lose the pad. This is your blast reduction kit. That protects you. So Marines, if you're out there listening, don't screw with the blast reduction kit. Another thing, I'm an accuracy snob. That might come as a shock to some people, but Marines, a professionally ran infantry unit, is really good at zeroing everything they own.
God damn right.
When I go see guys dick up,
you damn right.
When I see units that dick up zeroing, guess what? They miss. I don't know why I just missed with my Carl Gustaf. I'm like, well, let's go re-bore sight. They're like, my bore sight was screwed up. I said, no shit. So, care and maintenance is important. Bore sighting is absolutely important. And then additionally, when you get this in your units, everybody's got this now in the Marine Corps. This does not go in the hands of a PFC. This is a thinking, fighting adult.
Damn right.
Remember in our time, you used to give the idiot the saw.
And the comm gear and the wire and all that shit.
Very stupid.
Didn't know how to use it.
No, stupid idea. So
there you go, PFC Bodette. You got the saw, the comm wire,
batteries. In my mind, if I'm king for a day, this goes in the hands of a fire team leader like
absolutely.
Marine.
Absolutely.
So we weren't fortunate enough to get this for our generation, but I'm certainly grateful that when our boys go down range next time, they're going to have a Carl Gustaf, and I couldn't be happier.
How long have we had it in a Marine Corps?
Our first fielding started about 4.5 years ago, and our final fielding went when you and me went and visited.
So the whole enlistment, basically, they've had it.
Yeah, so when you and me went and visited Saunders up there in Quantico, when we seen Gunner Saunders, that was the last fielding event to take place for the Marine Corps, and you and me got to go see one of our guys field the system.
Yep, right.
So it was nice how your infantry life comes kind of full circle, and you know to still get to do this is special. You know, and I always like to close out stuff by talking about you know, culture and how we do things. And I want to remind Marines of things. When we got this gun, the Marine Corps sent a Marine gunner to Sweden. Now at that point, I'm retired. I don't wear the uniform anymore. I'm just, in the eyes of the government, I'm a vendor, right? And the Army wanted to come over there, and they said, hey, we want to keep the iron sight on this gun. And before they had a chance to say anything, I'd convinced the Marine Corps to send a Marine to Sweden to have their input in what this gun looks like. And I watched a Marine gunner explain to 3 Army cats why we needed a red dot. So we often find times at any walk of life, especially in the military, if somebody comes to you and says, JC, I need you to send a guy to this class for this reason. what we generally do is I take the expendable guy and send him.
Yep. You don't. That's one thing we do wrong.
We're terrible at it. So
yep. Let's send this clown. Just get him out of here. Send him, and he's supposed to come back and train the trainer.
Hey,
right?
if you're going to send an expendable dude, you're going to get expendable results.
You need a good NCO staff, NCO
right.
something there.
And when I see Marines carrying this, I know that a Marine gunner influenced getting the right sight on the gun.
Let's go back to marksmanship. Bottom line, you could have the best weapon system in the world. You can't put it around on a bad guy. You might as well be fucking not even have it.
It's weight not worth carrying.
Right, absolutely.
Right. So, like I said, I think about the lumber yard. I think about steel curtain. I think about all the fights I'd ever been in.
Yep.
There's not an instance where I say to myself, "Man, I wouldn't have taken the Carl Gustaf." I'll tell you what.
Oh yeah.
You can bet your ass I would have taken the Carl Gustaf. And and here's another thing that I want to bring up. I remember when we had to go fight for this, and I remember everybody. First, it started with the gunner symposium, where all the gunners come together, and a lot of gunners, particularly the older ones, were like, we got another system coming. We're loyal to that system, and I remember this. I looked in the cheap seats with all my peers, younger gunners, which that's kind of an oxymoron, but all the younger gunners have 1,500 combat patrols.
I'm loyal to this. I'm loyal to this. Yeah. Man, fuck, bullshit. I'm loyal to the Marine.
I'm loyal to the Marine. And if you're not loyal to him, you and me ain't the same.
You get him. That's right.
So we fought that fight. And I'd also want to share with Marines, and this is some stuff that I've already talked about, but I want to share it with, because I think we potentially got a new audience here a little bit, is if you're not fighting in the light for your people, there is somebody in the dark fighting against them.
That's a fact.
And I remember when I left the 2nd Marine Division to go to Quantico to watch this get shot in front of the Commandant against the small, everybody up there that was in that stakeholder realm that was like, supporting the small, they supported it because that was their requirement to defend. Right. They weren't defending what was best for the Marine. Yeah. And everybody from the fat lady driving the van to the 3 stars and 06s and sergeant majors in the ear of the Commandant, they were all small. And I thought to myself, okay, I'm old JC Knight from the hills of West.
Why everybody was impressed with the small? Because it was loud as fuck.
Right.
Well,
they kept arguing, and one guy said, "Well, we use why do I need smoke from this when I can obscure with a 203?" And it's like, idiot.
Bullshit.
It's like that's a squad marking device. That isn't for obscuration.
Right.
So in front of the Commandant, me and my buddy Johnny we're hammering him, and the Commandant looks up, and Bob Neller does not smile, and he looked up. He goes, "You gunners came to work today." I'm like, "That's what you pay us for, Commandant."
Tell you what, I remember Neller. He was my regimental commander.
And I felt good about my body of work that day, but we walked off that range, and before 3 of my sergeants that used to work with me in 3-2 were the guys shooting the guns, and I remember they came up to me and they said, "Gunner, can we talk to you?" I said, "Absolutely." They said, "The lady driving the van says that you guys don't know what you're talking about." I said,
"Who the hell's a lady driving the van?"
"Some government person supporting the program."
Oh, Lord.
So we talk about people that work in the dark against their fellow man through ignorance. Right, through ignorance, the Marines looked at me. I'm like, "Well, what do you think?" They're like, "You're our gunner."
Some lady driving the van said that you, a Marine gunner, don't know what you're talking about.
That's exactly what she did.
Oh my God!
And I told those NCOs, I said, "You go up there and be a professional, and you do what you think's right for the Marine." Marines shot. Marines did good with it. And
this put the Carl Gustaf put the fucking small to shame, didn't it?
Well, the bad thing is I had general officers and colonels up there trying to throw shade on this because they had missed with the small, which they were familiar with, and they were shooting at small targets at like 250, and then they shot at an amphibious carrier at 100 yards and hit.
Oh,
and they're like, "Oh, we hit with that one, and they're all doing this. It was like amateur hour with the Commandant. Oh. So it wasn't hard to shine, but I remember leaving the range, and the last civilian that I got in front of, I had the Army up there helping me out on this by bringing their suite and talking about the program. And this guy walks up and interrupts me while I'm talking to him. And he says, he's talking. I said, "Sir, you've interrupted me for the last time." I said, "It is clear to me that you don't care about the lethality and survivability of our Marines." He goes, "You saying I don't care about Marines?" I said, "Bitch, did I fucking stutter?" And I said, "You better get the fuck away from me." To the point, they didn't want to let me on the range. And I said, "Hey, here's my commanding general's phone number. I'm going to call him, and you can explain to my general why I'm not allowed on your range."
But a Marine gunner ain't allowed.
Why I'm not allowed on the range. Yeah. And it was a time in my life where I'm 21 years in the Marine Corps. I'm not going to stick around much longer. But if this is the end of the line for me, going out on my shield to get them this gun, I'll gladly do it.
Well, you did.
And you know what? 3 months later, out comes the Commandant. Hey, I like Carl Gustaf, and guess what? I concur with the needs statement that originated from the 2nd Marine Division, and I'm giving a Carl Gustaf to every damn rifle squad in the Marine Corps active component and the reserve. So,
yeah, that shoot, we have a couple reserve gunnies.
Yeah.
That were going through that.
Yeah. So here we are 5 years later. It's never easy getting something through the acquisitions process, but I can go to bed at night knowing this old machine gunner did his part to help fix our rocket problem, because God knows we had a huge rocket problem. And
oh yeah, we never. They were never even in the equation.
No,
if you think about it.
No. And
you know, patrolled. I never said, hey, don't forget that rocket.
Right.
I'm like, fuck that.
Yeah,
rocket,
and Carl Gustaf is here to stay, and we also, this isn't a sales pitch here, but the AT4s that we used to deal with. Remember those little shitty plastic flip-up sights? Marines now have AT4s that are going to come with a red dot on it. It's disposable.
Oh, wow.
You shoot it and you throw it away, and you don't have to worry about saving the red dot. So that system's even become more accurate.
The AT4 is good for what it's supposed to do.
Yes, absolutely.
People were trying to use it for something that it was never supposed to do.
And my mind is also this. AT4 goes on posts, combat service support, because I need this in the fight. I can put that in the defense.
Absolutely. Yep.
And I got one saved round. I want to tell this to everybody. And this is particularly for the grunts that are carrying this right now. Guys that are having trouble hitting. I just went to 29 Palms. I just went to this big exercise. I'm like, okay, how far did you have to run doing I'm up, they see me, I'm down with a Carl Gustaf? They're all about 2 football fields. Check it out, infantry trainers, right? If I've got a rifle squad of 10-plus Marines, if rocket frag battle drills, the culmination point to success at the rocket frag battle drill is the rocket and the frag, the guy that's shooting this should not be gassed, or to the lesser degree possible. So I want that kid, that man, taking the most well-aimed shot he possibly can. So in my mind, this follows in trace behind this squad, because this is your bid for success.
Hey,
don't screw that up.
It's the same in fire movement. He gets to a position where he's covered, right? And he can no shit hit the enemy, right?
Yep.
Who says he has to move?
Right.
Who says he's got to move?
Hey, cover doesn't necessarily mean I have to be standing on it, but if I can cover it by fire, it's covered.
Right. And then all of a sudden, if the Marines or whatever, start getting in his field of fire, then he can get up and move to another position. He doesn't have to do that up, I'm see me, they down bullshit.
Right.
Everybody knows that anybody that's ever been in a real firefight knows there's no such thing as I'm up, they see me, I'm down.
Right. Stupid.
So.
Right.
But yeah, man, that's good shit, JC.
But that's it, man. I'm proud of this system. I'm proud of what it can do for our Marines. And, we talk a lot nowadays about high-speed stuff. You're always going to need tools that do simple things well, and there's no tool that does simple things well better than the Carl Gustaf. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a good piece of gear.
Yeah, so, hey, if you've got any questions about Carl Gustaf or anything that goes boom, don't be afraid to ask us here at the JC and Bo Show, or hit me up individually. I'm easy to find. That's all I got. JC signing off here.
Bo out.